Water Summoner's Road. One of the Summoner's Roads that you're going to have to tackle if you want to awaken your Shiro, your Longs, your Jays, or any other type of super awoken character that may be coming out. You're going to have to tackle this and see if you're able to beat it consistently so you can get all the Summoner Orbs that you possibly may need. But a few disclaimers before we get into the guide. For one, if you've never seen one of these, I always say this in the very beginning. If you do not have any of the units or any of the teams that I recommend, always check the past clears to see what other people are using on a specific stage. If someone else is using a team that you could possibly make, then just copy that team and try to get it to work. Another thing, you don't have to get to stage 5 to be able to super awaken your character. And lastly, I don't ever ask for this, literally at all pretty much, apart from like maybe in the outros of videos. But if you do find this video informative, entertaining, or the case may be, please make sure you drop a like on it. It helps it out a ton. The reason why I'm asking you guys for this is because the guide videos tend to not do as well on the channel. Sometimes there are some real stinkers. And it's not because the videos are bad or anything like that. It's more so people don't really come looking for guides all the time, but I know these are videos that a lot of you guys appreciate, so I try to get them out as quickly as I can, even if they don't do as well as the others. But enough of all that, let's get into this, shall we? Stage 1. Stage 2. Stage 2, it revolves around you being able to deal water damage actually to the boss. If you're able to deal water damage to the boss, then you will easily be able to kill him. So you can go about doing this stage in a multitude of ways. The way that I went about it was using a mono water team, as you see here, and just nuking him. As you see, we don't even have all the equips on everybody, but I just went with the usual stuff here. We were able to instantly beat this boss. Stage 3. Stage 3 is where the first kind of difficulty happens in this. And by difficulty, I more so mean it's time consuming. This boss has multiple thresholds and has light killer. It's going to do a massive attack at each of the thresholds that will lower the damage based on the race that you are. So on the first threshold, he lowers damage from humans. On the second threshold, he lowers damage from gods. On the third threshold, he lowers damage from demons. And on the final threshold, he will now get crit rate, and he increases how fast his art gauge will actually fill up. Oh, and another thing about these thresholds, he will also inflict disease to your entire team. You can't counter it with the taunt tank. It literally goes through everything. Everybody will get afflicted by disease. Now, how do you beat this? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. The way that I did it was just use a Miyu, a Gerald, a Juno, and a Mako. We do have humans, of course. We have pretty much the entire team as humans, apart from Juno. But we were able to clear this relatively quickly. Even with him reducing damage from human allies, we were still on really good pace to be able to burst through this boss. So if you have Miyu, this would be my attacker of choice. And then, of course, if you have Juno and Mako, this would be my two arch-genning / support characters of my choice. The tank, being Gerald, is just extra insurance here. If you don't have the Mako, that's going to really suck because there's not really another character you can use. You could get away with using Haruto, but I actually used Haruto in the next stage, stage 4. But even another type of arch-genner, like maybe Priestess or a Serpa, even Rimuru, will also work in this slot as well. As for the Juno pick, you could really use whoever you want. If you don't want to use Juno, you could probably even use Emperor here and work perfectly fine. Stage 4. So far, it's been pretty easy, right? I mean, it's not too crazy, but stage 4 is where it gets a little bit finicky. And if I was going to tell you anything, I would highly recommend that you just rock out with this team here. This fight has so many annoyances that it's not even funny. The main mechanic you have to know about, though, is the fact that this boss will be able to reduce your maximum HP every 15 to 20 seconds from what it seems like. If you have your max HP reduced to an abysmal level, you're gonna die. Doesn't matter how much damage resist you have. Because of that, this is why I recommend this team specifically. The Thetis is able to hard tank and also be the one that's gonna be able to control all of that max HP reduction. The other two, which are gonna be Haruto and War God Finn. Haruto's here for the crazy healing, and War God Finn's here for the crazy damage that he's able to inflict, because this boss takes hardly no damage from any other element. And then Shiro is here for the damage reduction. If you don't have Shiro, don't panic. You could easily use Sandstone instead for even more DR if you're someone that needs to do that. That's not it, ladies and gentlemen. You still have a chance to die even with a team like this. And the reason why is because the thresholds are very, very dangerous. At each of the thresholds, he will cancel damage negation, meaning that if you are negating damage with a barrier, he will now go through that barrier. However, with a character like Thetis or any other taunt tank, it will still only hit that unit. You don't have to worry about anyone else getting hit by that attack. He's going to be covering all allies. He's going to be taking all the damage. So whenever this happens, you have to run and equip like Thetis' true weapon and even use the 3-star defense Aerial The reason why we use Ariel, it is a huge magic slash damage res buff to ourself. And this is one of the ways for us to easily survive each of the thresholds without us having to worry about literally anything. So all you have to do to be able to beat this consistently, to make sure that Thetis' 5-star defense item is on him whenever the thresholds happen, and that Ariel is popped at every single threshold as well. Also, running something like Blessed Necklace on your Haruto will give extra insurance to the Thetis to make sure he doesn't die and make the run as consistent as possible. Stage 5. Stage 5 has a few things that we need to worry about. For one, we have to fight these annoying ads, which are able to freeze us. And they reduce our freeze resist, which is just incredible. Not only just that, you also have to fight Alvina. Yep, you gotta fight Alvina. And Alvina can kind of kill your team if you're not careful. And finally, you have the boss. And she has all the common boss stuff that you will see, like lifesteal reduction, reflect resist, arcade down resist. She also has a weakness to fire, which means fire units hit a little bit harder against her. And she has damage taken up during disease. Each of the thresholds will spawn one of the ads, and she will get a various buff. The first buff will give her crit resist. At the second threshold, 3 more ads will spawn during the fight, and she's going to increase how fast her art gauge comes back up. At third threshold, she's going to gain healing, and then at the final threshold, you best believe it, it's a nuke. 1 or 2 people might die in your team, but don't panic. As long as someone else lives, any type of damage that you hit her with after this threshold will kill her. The team that I went with was a team that consisted of Miranda, Lisa, Ilya, and the boy, Ainz. Now, I will say this team is not perfect. It is far from it, but it gets the job done, even if it takes a few times. The Miranda is able to easily tank this boss. The reason being is because this boss actually has magic damage. Not to mention, since we're going to be using magic damage characters, because magic damage is better against the final boss, Miranda is able to constantly buff it with her true art, while also applying the barrier and the taunt as well. As for the Lisa was mainly here to help with the art training department and to help with the equipment CT. Equipment CT was a very big issue since we only have 1 defense item on this team, so having the Lisa will make sure that we have that up every single time that we need it. And not to mention too, she was able to hold one of the most important pieces to this entire run, which is Keratos, or a cleansable heal item. The reason why we need the cleanse is because since we are going to get inflicted with freeze resist down and freezing procs, we got to make sure that we are able to cleanse the freeze every single time it happens, because if that Miranda is frozen and not able to act whenever we need her to, she's going to die, which means the entire team is going to die. As for the damage dealer of choice here, we went with Ilya because she's also able to provide support, but the best character to actually use in this situation would have been a character like Fire or Veil. And finally, we used Ainz to lower the crit res to make sure that Ilya could actually crit the boss along with everyone else on the team. Do you need the Ainz here? Absolutely not. You could use a multitude of other characters, but I really enjoyed him. Also, another thing too is that he was a character that was able to hold another cleanse item due to his 4-star heal, which helped us out quite a bit. And yeah, for the team, that's kind of it. Like, in terms of tips that I can offer you, pray. Like, literally, pray for your life. At each of the thresholds, try to make sure you have your defense equips up. If you get frozen, try to cleanse your freeze as soon as it happens, especially if it's at a pinnacle point in the fight. As long as you're on top of all of your defense equips, and as long as you're paying attention to what's actually happening in the fight, you should be able to clear this in about 4, maybe 5 minutes. And look at that. You did it. You beat the Water Summoner's Road. Congratulations. This one, I don't think is nowhere near as bad as some of the other Summoner's Roads that we've gotten, but I will say it is kind of restrictive, just like the others, whenever you get to the later stages in terms of who you can use and who you shouldn't use. As mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you were not able to clear all the way up to stage 5, hey man, don't worry about it. You'll be able to do it eventually. And I will reiterate it here at the end as well. These are not the only teams that you can use. There are multitudes of teams out there and multitude of units that you can use, but I've given you pretty much a general overview of what each of these fights do, and you should be more than ready to be able to beat every single one of them. If you need any more help, as always, check the past clears to see if you're able to replicate any team that has previously beat it, or you can always ask in my Discord server for extra help on specific Summoner's Road stages. So hey, I hope all you guys that watched this video found this video informative, entertaining, whatever the case may be, and hopefully now you're able to tackle the Summoner's Road and beat it with this newfound knowledge. But hey, that's gonna be it for me. Thank you all for coming out. Hopefully you're able to tackle Summoner's Road and awaken your water characters now. Oh, and since we're talking about water, don't forget to drink water.